at that, and you already have everything uploaded from the past.
So it's all we just imported the RSS feed, and then so you can also be a donor. So you can click on support the podcast, and you can donate money.
Huh. Look at that.
So you can donate right there. We already have a donor.
Do you?
We might have two. I don't know.
It's like $2 extra dollars in your pocket a month. It's big money.
Yeah. Well, they it's like 20%. Yeah.
Wow.
That's not that much.
No, but it's...
Considering we would have gotten
It's an
nothing.
interesting... It's like internet platforms and internet creating. Like, let's say you told, like, someone with an agent that the supplier was going to be taking the 20% cut. Like somebody in a professionalized field, so like a comedian or something like that, and you told them that the supplier was going to take a 20% cut, they'd be like, you're insane.
Well,
but
so
I mean, it makes sense
because
they can a lot more than suppliers.
And it's free to upload to use too. We don't do anything. We don't pay anything, and we would have gotten $0. So if you're just looking at like kind of an overall opportunity cost kind of thing.
No, and that's the thing because this is happening on a lot more platforms than just. Is it recording?
Yeah, we've been recording for that.
I'm making sure that. There's a lot more platforms than just that one, especially the new ones, where these companies are able, because they're the first out there, they're able to make these insane cuts, and they're providing so much. And then they also, there's nowhere else that you can go to monetize your podcasts.
Yeah, or at least
like
that provides us the same opportunity.
Yeah, because you could always take on the Audible sponsorship, like every other podcaster.
We're working on it. So Anchor theoretically finds sponsorship for us.
For you.
That's another benefit.
So I wonder what it looks like on the sponsor side, and if it's like, you can buy bulk sponsorships.
I'm sure it's like that.
It's that nice middleman calculations where it's like really streamlines the process.
This is the Experience Podcast with me and someone else.
I'm the someone else this time.
Yeah, there's no Connor. Connor's not here.
It's Peter.
He's very busy this time around. Anyway, Peter's back.
I still don't get why y'all don't just edit the song in.
So it's just a little easier. We could easily do it.
Like very, very easy.
But I'm taking the laziest route.
But that's true. So there's a small chance that I would possibly want an internship that eventually has me editing podcasts.
Okay.
And you sometimes need a portfolio, and you definitely need audio editing experience. And I've been in a pain in the ass talking about how this podcast might need to be edited. So there's a chance I might start editing this podcast.
You'd like to be our editor.
But it would have to be after April.
Okay, and we don't pay.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, it's...
Actually, you might need to pay us.
No, I would not pay you. I'm okay taking no pay. I'm not paying you for the opportunity.
We barely get paid. I mean,
There are enough chances for me to just randomly edit some audio.
Yes, that's true.
But the 538 News has an internship for their podcast that I've already applied for. But for next year, hopefully they have the same internship. And 538 News is like my favorite journalism thing in the world, and their podcast is one of my favorite.
Yeah,
so being able to work with them would be fantastic.
Well, what would you like to edit with this? I mean, so part of the reason we're asking for supporters is we do want to upgrade the equipment. We got a new microphone
that we're not using.
Yeah, this is the new microphone.
This was a while ago. They all got it.
Okay. Connor got it as a gift, I think, a few months ago. But
right.
Obviously, maybe we'd have multiple microphones. We'd have a whole setup,
a whole quality of life upgrades,
a whole soundboard setup. But we don't have any of that.
No.
So that's if people are wondering where the money's going, it's toward improving the podcast. It's not for Connor.
It's going back to you, basically.
It's going back to you.
When you donate to the podcast, you're getting. It's like taxes.
Exactly.
In a weird way. And I know how much everybody loves to pay their taxes.
It's essentially a tax on podcasts.
It's a podcast tax.
Anyway,
but it's not enforced. It's more like charity.
Let's go through your criticisms of the podcast here.
It's not a criticism. It's just that, I mean, in any conversation, there's dead space. And getting rid of that dead space, and then maybe also being able to edit out things that people don't particularly want. So I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Of our podcasts.
No, they're not all the Experience podcasts.
Okay.
I listen to a lot of podcasts that aren't the experience podcasts,
Yes.
edited podcasts.
Uh-huh.
And there'll be times where they'll reference the edits that happen inside of them. And, they'll edit, for example, when somebody's looking up to an answer to a question, and it might take them 5 minutes to find it.
Mm-hmm.
And that dead space will get edited out. Or if, you got to keep your brand. And so I listen to the Vlog Brothers podcast a lot. And they're adults, and so they'll talk about adult subjects, but they'll edit it out or edit the worst stuff out because they're still targeting a younger adult audience. And they're the dads of the internet. So I don't know what y'all's brand is necessarily.
We don't really have a brand.
No.
The brand is brand. Like brand, yeah.
It's brand name, and that's y'all's brand. The brand name is brand name.
Mm-hmm.
God, that's awful. It's like before brands were a thing, and it was just like bread.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the golden days.
It's minimalism. The 20s.
Yeah.
Really
Really up until like the 40s.
Was it? Yeah.
It's kind of the economy kind of fluctuated during the Second World War.
Well, yeah, and it was kind of reliant on refrigerated train carts because you needed it. Like food was the big branding thing. I don't know. I remember learning about this in like 10th grade and proceeded to forget a majority of it, which is unfortunate because history, and especially American history, is actually still quite pertinent to my major, unlike a majority of people at Tech.
Yeah.
So it's okay for them to forget, just like I've forgotten a lot of calculus.
A lot of people find it interesting. Yeah.
No, that's true. At a STEM school, I was not expecting a lot of people to have interests in history and stuff like that, but I'm finding a lot of it, and a large knowledge of history too. So that's good. We're a bunch of nerds.
Mm-hmm.
Is the gist of it there. So that's good, I guess. It's good to remember your past, so you're not, it's the quote, doomed to repeat it or whatever.
Yeah, that's the cliche.
It's cool.
Anyway, let's go over just some housekeeping things.
Okay.
We're working on fixing the Apple Podcast feed. Well, Connor says he is. So if you're a listener on Apple Podcasts, I'm sorry. But you can definitely listen on Anchor. You can get the app if you want to. You can listen online, however you listen to it. Peter's already listened to several episodes.
Uh-huh.
We're working on some sponsorships right now and some other podcast collaborations.
Ooh.
I won't say who or when or what or why.
They're still in the process.
They're very in the process, which means he's not responding to my email.
Damn.
He responded to the first one. He's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then I was like, all right, when do you want to do it? And that was it. So
Have you sent a follow-up?
No.
You gotta send a follow-up. How long ago did you send it?
A few days ago. So I'm giving it like
I'd
a few
say
days.
4 business days is a good follow-up.
Yeah, so I'm waiting a little longer. I think it was like middle of last week.
Okay.
So I'll send it. I'll send a follow-up soon. Yeah, so we've been really struggling to get some guests on. As you can see, we've been cycling through. This is Peter's third time. He's got the experience hat trick.
I do. Which is a good thing. It's fun. I like to be on this podcast.
You like to just talk about nothing.
I do.
For an hour.
Yeah. No, it's something.
You already do that by yourself.
I do in my head.
So at least this gives you a platform.
I'm not sure how other people think, but like I think in full sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Do you too?
Probably.
Okay. And I actually can't tell whether it could be one of those things where when I start thinking about my thinking, that's when I think in full sentences.
Okay.
And I could just think,
okay, but let's think about this
straightforwardly the rest of it. Like once I start focusing on my sentences or on how I think, that's when I start.
You form very defined sentences.
Yeah, it's weird.
Anyway, let's talk about women's basketball.
Ooh, yeah, there was that whole thing that's going on right now.
There's a whole thing that's going on. No, we don't have to talk about that if you want to. I figured it's a policy
I don't know
thing.
too much about it.
Yeah,
but
I figured you'd be in on it because,
Yeah, so it's definitely been on my radar, and I've seen a lot of what Josiah has been saying about it on Facebook and Twitter.
And you guys, if you don't want to, you're not going to get too deep into it. But if you want to hear the full breakdown, you can listen on Peter's Public Policy Politics podcast.
Throw back to
he's going to go into
episode 4 weeks.
He's going to go in depth on that.
Absolutely
Available as well on the Experience Anchor podcast feed.
That's one of those things. I don't particularly like journalism that is like it's got a place. But the speculative stuff...
I was going to say, speculatory.
Because it's like, all right, the things are eventually going to happen with this.
There's a lot
and you
of
can
smoke.
speculate.
There's a lot of smoke.
Right. And so I can only guess that there's going to be a fire from 50 feet away for so long until the fire actually appears.
And there's already now, you hate to talk about it, but there's a reputation with it.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't help that at Tech, we've already got that discrepancy between male and female.
Well, go ahead and break it down for the people who don't know what we're talking about.
So the female coach for the women's basketball team was put on leave.
For personnel reasons.
For personnel
Not
reasons.
personal.
No,
Personnel.
Nothing personnel, kid. And they did not give any further explanation.
According to her.
Well,
what they said
publicly, she gave they gave no.
And according to her, publicly, they did.
Right.
Maybe behind.
They didn't give her one either, which is a big deal. But might make sense for liability reasons, depending on how this goes out. But she claimed, if I have it correct, she claimed that it was a sexist thing, or it was
kind of
discriminatory.
Yeah. So she's been, especially for the past few years, I think what she's saying is she's been making a lot of strong pleas to the administration department or the athletics department to make a bigger push for the women's sports, especially her team. Obviously, she's a coach for women's basketball.
Yeah, no, and they've been doing great.
So what she's kind of saying, and what I guess her attorney was saying is this was kind of to shut her up.
Yeah,
is what is allegedly happening.
Yeah, which just doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, that's what they're saying.
Right.
That's what their camp is. And Georgia Tech refuses to put us in because they say they don't have to.
Yeah.
But for personnel leave.
For those who might be in a similar position to the coach, though, very smart move on her hand to immediately hire a lawyer and have the lawyer be the spokesperson.
I don't know if she already had a lawyer.
She might have already had a lawyer.
Again, she's been starting a lot of fires about getting the women's. And you think about it, we have so many publicity events for the men's team. We don't really have any.
Which, from an economic, unfortunately, men's basketball brings in more money.
Oh, it's not
so if you're looking at a business because public colleges are in that weird place where you are a public university, so you're state run, and yet also you have these profit-driven organizations like your research and the school itself is usually fairly profit-driven.
Well, most of our funding goes to research. It's like 70%.
Yeah,
it's not even close.
We divert insane amounts of funding back to research, and so. And unfortunately, we're not like Alabama, where we have money flowing through our veins just because of a fantastic football team. So the athletics program is running on the slimmest amount of money you can.
And all the other sports make no money.
Right. And so
football game has 3 people at those games.
Yeah. And so you have to cut where you can. And so you could make the argument that this is sort of inevitable. When you're cutting money at every place you can, you're going to make some unnecessary cuts or some cuts that look biased.
And I think one of the things that she pointed out, or at least her attorney pointed out, was her salary compared to Josh Pastner, who's the men's basketball coach. I think it's about 3 times less.
Yeah. And they're public employees. Yeah, we could look up those numbers.
I can pull those up. Well,
but
let's do an edit right here while I look up those
numbers.
But we can talk through this. Yeah, go ahead.
It's just a really awkward place because then that question does kind of come up. The ultimate question is Georgia Tech athletics making any decisions that are unreasonable?
Where do I find it? Where do I click?
Unreasonably biased against women. So if she has these situations where, she's able to show that just $500 of extra advertisement for a women's basketball game would bring in $1,100. Or, actually, this might be your best argument, is that it's sort of a self-feeding snake where when Georgia Tech doesn't give money to the women's athletics programs, it makes women's athletics less good because people don't want to come to the recruiting is worse when the women's programs have less money, it brings fewer women athletes to the program, and then thus the women's athletics brings in less amounts of money. So, not knowing anything about the situation, just from an outsider's point of view, I think that's where the best argument is. Now, her lawyer could have more data on that to say that, yes, there was absolutely discrimination based on gender that would be, illegal under Title IX, and Georgia Tech would have a fairly large lawsuit on their hands, but you'd need some pretty specific evidence to be able to prove that. Gender is there's levels of scrutiny for legal cases, and I think it's a loose scrutiny one, and so you need a legitimate government interest, and that needs to be closely related to gender in order to discriminate. I'm not sure if that applies here, but I know that applies for constitutional questions. Mm-hmm. What are the salaries?
I couldn't find it.
You couldn't find it?
No.
Yeah.
I couldn't find her name on there. Maybe
so you know the website before?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can try to look it up, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I don't know her name.
No, I know her name, but I couldn't find her name.
Really? Sorry, now I'm going to be looking up, let's see, Georgia.
Open Georgia. Anyway, while Pierre's pulling that up, we'll talk about, okay, let's talk about this. So I have a bin of cookies here.
Oh, I want a cookie.
You can have a cookie.
But then I'm going to be eating while the podcast is going.
That's fine. We've done that so many times.
What's your last name?
Joseph. So anyway, this was full of cookies. There were maybe 20 or so in there, and then we ate some. But I seem to be missing like 5 cookies. I remember there were more in there. I don't know where they went.
What's your first name?
Michelle, with it like Michelle, M-A. Can't find her, right? I think Georgia Tech deleted her from all records, but we can look up.
I doubt that.
We can look up past there. I'll do that.
I might be looking in the wrong area.
So you should just be looking for salaries. You gotta get through that.
Yeah, Josh Pastner is on there. So he makes. Da 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 da.
Yeah, he should.
Whoa! Are you kidding me?
No, we're not.
He makes $1.8 million to coach a losing basketball
team. To coach a very losing basketball team.
Are you kidding me? And the man can't even buy suits that fit right.
He's got no basketball coach has ever worn a suit that fits properly. Have you ever seen? If you've gone to any of the games, to any. Okay, let's see if I can find her on all coaches.
Maybe we're spelling your last name wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to all coaches. Now I have to remember my alphabet. Too bad Connor's on here. He's very good at letters. Oh, do you want to go to? Let's see. Okay, I got her. We were spelling it right. I don't know why. She makes. Yeah, so he makes 1.8. You can guess how much she makes. And we'll
450K.
We'll put this to our listeners as well. That's so you're low.
Okay.
She makes a good amount, but comparatively, she up.
800K.
She makes 687.
687.
Now, how many years has she been here?
She's been here like 10.
She's been here 13, I believe.
And Pastner's been
She's the winningest women's basketball coach at Georgia Tech ever, with 310 wins. She's been to the postseason pretty much.
I can't believe Pastner makes $1.8 million.
She's been to the postseason, whether it's the NIT or the NCAA tournament, pretty much every season. She hasn't been to the NCAA tournament since the 2013-2014 season.
What do you do with $1.8 million a year?
That's like nothing compared to a lot of other.
I know. I just don't understand like rich people in general, to be 100% honest.
What do you do with your money?
Like at a certain point, I'd say like
he gives out Chick-fil-A sandwiches.
120K
games
per year is about where I max out. Understanding
you could do
what
200. 200 is enough because you can get a car or whatever.
Yeah, but what?
300 even. You could see that.
No. I'd buy.
Well, you're saving. A lot of that goes to saving.
For what? Saving for what?
For retirement. Because at that point, you don't have to retire when you're 98. You can retire when you're 95.
I just don't understand. Like, even with putting aside a large portion of that towards retirement, I just feel like it's too much money.
But even so, he probably lives a similar life that you do on a day-to-day basis.
Hassner
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. Think about what you did. What did you do yesterday?
I worked.
Okay, that's a bad example. Like a weekend. What are you planning on doing tomorrow? You get up?
I'll just explain what I did today.
Okay. Well, you're only halfway through the day and you're doing the podcast too, but that's fine. Yeah,
Right.
Go ahead.
So I woke up,
Okay.
went on Reddit for an hour,
Okay.
fell asleep for an hour,
Mm-hmm.
got out of bed around 10.
Very productive, yes.
Right? Well, I don't have any work to do on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Delia's chicken and subs, or not chicken sausage.
It's chicken sauce, yeah.
It's delicious.
How is it? We haven't been there.
It's fantastic.
Maybe we'll go.
I get that El Camino bowl.
It looks like it's in a very sketchy place.
What?
Like that area is kind of
No!
late at night, yes.
Oh my god, Daniel.
Yes.
If you haven't been on the west side of Tech in a while, because it's recently gotten a lot better.
Yes.
So if you haven't been there in a while,
No, I've been there. I go there all the time.
right? Like it's Daniel has not been to sketchy areas of Atlanta.
I have
Just
been
put
to
that out
sketchy
there
areas
right
of
now.
Atlanta. I've totally been to sketchy areas of Atlanta.
And you consider that a sketchy area?
It's not as sketchy.
No, all right. Come on.
Why don't I walk down like a literal dark alley in like a dark street?
It's got a lot of construction going on.
There's a lot of which probably is better for it.
It is a booming neighborhood. It is.
They've been doing a lot of renovations of all that whole area.
I would not consider it a nice area of Atlanta, but I also would not consider it sketchy.
Late at night?
Late at night. Okay, so this is what I talk about Atlanta. Atlanta, everybody has cars, even the criminals.
Mm-hmm.
At night, be on edge anywhere. I mean, the most amount of crimes happen in Buckhead.
Yeah.
Like, Buckhead is one of the most crime-ridden districts in Atlanta, and it's also the nicest and bougiest. It's because the criminals have cars and they want to steal nice, bougie things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no getting around that. Like, people ask, I went to Georgia State last year, and I'm like, oh, it's such a bad area. And
Yeah.
I'm like, if you stay in, if you don't go outside at 2 a.m. alone, you're fine.
Even if you go outside at 2 a.m. alone, you're probably fine.
Right, no, it's not like a 100% chance. It's just you're risking it a bit more
Yes.
if you go out at 2 a.m. Like you get updates on the crimes that did happen in the area, and that happen at 3 a.m., 4 a.m.
People around here are very freaked out. They get freaked out when I say I walk on 10th Street late at night. It's like it's the most well-lit street.
Right, it's well lit. Yeah, as long as it's well lit.
There's so many cars going by.
And there's cars going by.
There's police officers littered.
Yeah,
across
and
10th Street.
GTPD is...
Yeah, 10th Street especially. There's always a police officer
bored.
right here across the
I
street.
swear to God, yeah, GTPD is just bored.
I know it because it wakes me up when their lights flash for no reason. It's just
Yeah,
they
Georgia
see
Tech
their
is the worst
friends.
blinds in the world.
These blinds are also bad. Yes.
That's why I woke up at 6:48 originally this morning because I turned in my sleep and the light woke me up. It might have actually been the light on in my.
But anyway, the point of this was Josh Pastner probably did the same thing today. He got up. Maybe he went on Reddit for an hour. Maybe he went back to sleep. Went to get lunch someplace.
Yeah,
someplace
but
small. It's kind of the same lifestyle.
Vaguely, except he got up instead of in a dorm shared with, with 3 rooms
Yes,
shared with 4
obviously he
people.
has. I don't know where he lives.
So my dad, when I was a little kid, our family did not make much money. I mean, recession. Very few people our age were
I
doing
was fine.
We're doing fantastic. Phenomenal.
I was doing fantastic.
So both my parents had my older sister, obviously at the same time with my older sister, when they were 21, which is very young to have kids. Something I didn't realize until I was older. It was like, oh wow, 21 is really young.
I'm 22. So
really, yeah.
and
your parents were doing well. Are you an only kid?
No, I'm oldest.
Really? What'd your dad do for you?
No, I'm 22.
Oh,
I'm not saying my parents.
Oh, I thought you said okay.
I'm saying it would be like if I had kids last year.
Having kids when you're 21 is tough. And so it.
Were they working at the time?
My dad was. My mom had to drop out of college, and wasn't able to go back to college until my parents got divorced. Because when you have 3 kids, you're busy. Your life stops focusing on you at all and becomes entirely focused on these little children that would no longer exist if you didn't constantly take care of them. So we weren't doing economically fine. We were lower middle class for the area we were in. But now that my older sister is out of college, I'm in college, but because of Zell Miller scholarship, it's not too expensive, and then it's just my little sister. And both my parents are making money. They're divorced, but still they're both making money. They have a lot more money to spend. And I still have that mindset of, 11-year-old me who's like, don't ask for special snacks at Kroger. And now my dad, who also...
We can only afford Kroger brand.
Right. And now my dad, who also grew up poor, has a lot more spending money. And so he'll buy like a walking desk for his house that he... Which is, on a treadmill, isn't that absurd of a purchase. It costs like $300. He gets a lot of work done there.
Okay.
And I'm astonished by it. So
is it good? Is it beneficial?
It is, because he's walking all day. And it's like silent.
Because standing can be bad. Like too much standing can be bad.
Right. And so, but it's just one of those things where like, I have a hard time understanding even just non-frivolous purchases. Just like, I have a ton in savings right now. The idea of buying a Switch, despite the fact it's like $300 and it's got some of my favorite games on it, it's still just a non-concept for me. Like, I'm not going to do it.
You wouldn't do it.
I have an income. Anyone else in my position would probably buy it. I'm not going to, just because it feels so unfrivolous. And so then when you're making $1.8 million, I'm just like, I don't know what I would do with that.
Invest it.
Yeah, I'd invest it all, but for what? Because I'd never take it out of investments.
You would never use it. You can pass it down to
I'd buy my
Peter Jr.
Right. No, that's what but then I don't want my kids to be spoiled. Like Gordon Ramsay does.
No, I'm not saying that. You keep it in investments. It's a series of passing down savings. So no one ever is using.
But then eventually one of my lineage is going to be spoiled. And that's what I don't. But luckily, I'm going into public policy.
Yeah. So
I'm not going to make billions of dollars.
You have no issues with that.
I'm always going to be overworked.
You don't have to worry about having too much money. That's a pain.
Like right now, I'm working practically for less than minimum wage. And I'm happy with it.
Which is probably illegal, but, it's...
Yeah, I think the way that they let me go early on some... I'm working for the state capitol, so it's just really a weird mix.
Like, unpaid internships are probably illegal.
They should be. Unpaid internships are stupid.
It's just slavery.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go that far. Okay. Slavery had some other stipulations, like the ownership of people.
Yeah, there's no physical abuse or anything.
There's no physical abuse. There's no ownership. You can leave your internship.
Yes.
Yeah. You can leave your internship
if you sign a contract to do an internship in London.
They can't sue you.
It'd be very difficult.
There's no way they can sue you.
It'd be very difficult. Yeah, I'm just saying it may be difficult for someone who doesn't have any money to. When are you gonna get a rowboat to come back?
Right, that's true. That is an accurate statement. It's tough, but it's still not the punishment of death for living.
No, you're not.
Or whipping, but it is unpaid labor.
It's what
And I don't. And there are some cases, so like the White House internship is an unpaid internship. And a lot of Capitol Hill internships are unpaid internships. And it's hard
Dick Cheney,
to make the case that the opportunities there aren't worth the lack of pay.
Is it though? Do you have is it that beneficial?
Yes.
Because they've done studies where it's like people that do internships
right
don't necessarily
for a lot of internships.
It depends on the field and it depends on
so like the political field is 98%. Well,
it's a lot of who you know.
It's once you pass this threshold of competence. If you're incompetent and know a lot of people, you'll still get a job, but you won't be.
But I feel like you really need to form solid relationships.
Once you've hit this threshold, it does become this relationship-based work at it. And so working in the White House, you're going to see a lot of people. You're going to get close relationships with a lot of people. It's
literally just people you know in the White House.
Right.
So that's all it is.
And it gets you in. But at the same time, it not being paid, this is the same thing about part-time legislators, it blocks low-class people from being able to get those opportunities. So Georgia, for example, we have a 40-day part-time legislature. They get paid about $17,000 for their time, I think, in the legislature. And they aren't able to do their normal jobs during the 3 months that they're in the legislature, which is great for the established lawyer that is able to take 4 months off because they own their own firm. It's great for the doctor who owns their own. It's great for the farmer who these 4 months nothing can grow, and they're able to hire some farmhands to run the farm for 4 months. It sucks for the middle class to labor positions where you need to have a job all year, or else you don't you don't survive.
It's not a cyclical thing. It's just
and so it cuts out these internships and these opportunities and these being able to be a politician to a large class of people. It's really awkward. Like, I'm not going to be taking any White House internship, or if I was able to get one, just because I can't live in DC for 3 months with no pay. And DC is incredibly expensive to live.
You could live in Maryland or Virginia and drive an hour each day.
Yeah.
Do you have a car?
No, I don't like driving. I plan on never owning a car. It's too expensive.
So you have to live in a city. You can't live in a suburb.
I like public transportation.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you live in a suburb, it is just by design.
I'm from the suburbs. I know.
You have to have a car.
I'm from North Fulton, and a lot of people at the school are too, but I do not know anywhere around North Fulton because I never owned a car, so I knew about the 2 mile radius around my house.
That's 2 miles. That's a good. That's good.
I walk a lot. I'm a walking boy.
I know. I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
everywhere. We talked about that.
I'm. Let's see. So I walk a lot.
You walked to the airport.
No, I walked to Roswell from here.
I don't know how far that is.
It's, I think, 21 miles. So it's about a marathon. Yesterday I walked 9 miles and went 45 flights of stairs.
Okay.
Day before, 8 miles, 38 flights of stairs, and so those are heavy days. I average, I think, last Friday I did 10 miles. Like just this month, I've averaged.
Yeah.
Or February, I averaged 5.6. Last year, I was averaging in October 7.2 miles a day. It's a lot of walking.
It is. I get a lot of hidden walking, just walking around campus and stuff.
No,
you don't
it
even
really
realize
does rack up.
Especially, it's deceivingly hilly.
7 miles of walking a day, that's like 3.5 hours. 20 minute.
Is it 20 minute
mile?
You could probably do 15-minute mile.
I probably walk faster.
You could do 10 to 15.
I'm just trying to think of how much time I waste walking.
You waste a lot of time walking.
I waste a lot of time. I think a lot of people waste a lot of time. Just in general, there's a lot of time in the day.
Everyone has 24 hours in a day.
Having a job,
how you use it.
There's significantly less time in the day than
But how often do you work?
Every day I get in around 7:45 or 8. I get out around 5.
Around 8 to 5. Okay. So that's 9 hours.
Mm-hmm. Plus an hour and a half total of commuting. And then just because everybody's...
we're not counting the commuting. I'm saying at your 8 to 5 job.
Yeah.
Are you working 9 hours steadily the entire time?
Depends on the week. For these past 2 weeks and for the next 3, I will be, yes.
Like the whole 9 hours, you have something to do.
Yeah, that's how Friday was. It was insane.
Because a lot of jobs, that's not true.
No, in most jobs. And it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because working 9 hours straight is insane.
Yes.
My brain was fried yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why you see different work schedules now where, you work from home and Fridays off, 4-day weeks and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think the 4-day week schedule, for schools too, I think you'd be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone with that. So students tend to get burnt out over the 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
So Fridays are throwaway days almost. And then students lose a lot of information over the summer.
Yeah, so you want to get rid of the summer.
So get rid of summer, make it a break more like winter break.
Which have no reason right now. Summers don't.
No, yeah, because the farmers don't need
It
their
wasn't
children
about
back.
farming. That was not why we got rid of
Is
it.
that another freaking urban legend?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate those.
It's actually because it's all about rich people, as you know.
School funding. It's expensive to keep the schools going.
Basically, kind of.
Okay.
But also, like, the rich people didn't want their kids. In the summer, it's really hot in the school.
Yeah.
There's no air conditioning in 1798 or whatever. So they just took them out. And so none of the kids went to school in the summer just because people didn't want to go.
That's fair.
So that's why.
That's understandable.
But nowadays, now that we have
Air conditioning.
The
cost actually would be insane, though, to keep the schools running.
Yes, that too. I mean, there's probably multiple factors. Maybe farming was part of the factors.
But it would really increase.
But
our
a
schools
lot of
are
those
failing.
a lot of those farmers,
honest.
a lot of people that were farming didn't go to school.
No,
you were a farmer,
right.
so it doesn't really make too much sense that
No.
they would be. They don't care.
And so there's that. It's probably cost prohibitive mostly, but at the same time, like,
It's
our schools are
traditional at
failing
this
right
point.
now.
It's traditional. School in the summer.
And a lot of people will probably complain, like, what about our summer vacations? I mean, you can still... You have a month off in the winter, or like 3 weeks off. You can get a vacation.
You could take a month in the summer.
Yeah.
Make it a
So
month.
I think it would be a phenomenal thing for schools to start doing. Just because it is absurd. Even smart kids that are good at school.
You still lose like 60%,
Still lose.
70%?
Yeah.
Or is it-
I don't know the official percent,
something
so I'm not
between
going to try
there.
to guess out there.
It's
Just
something-
because it's so hard to quantify what you learned and what you didn't. Because so much
Yeah.
of what you learned in schools is about thinking through
It's
and your thought
qualitative as
processes,
opposed to quantitative.
right?
You don't.
And our over focus on what's somebody was saying, like, we focus in schools about what's easy to capture versus what's actually usable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something people talk about all the time, but like it's much easier to know, to be able to figure out whether someone is able to find the noun in the sentence versus their ability to make a coherent argument with a sentence, which is, what language is for. Maybe not argument is the best word, but to convey an idea
Whatever
with a
it is,
sentence.
yeah.
Their ability to convey an idea with a sentence is a lot harder to quantify, but a lot more important than their ability to find out a noun and a gerund in a sentence. But that's pretty easy to, underline the noun. Boom.
Yeah. You can test that.
And God, I hate saying that because it sounds like one of those like cliche, like, oh, tests are so stupid, like why are we even in school? We're learning a bunch of, teach me how to file my taxes or whatever. That argument I actually do have stuff against. You teach someone how to file their taxes in 11th grade, they're going to forget in 2 years easily.
They're gonna forget the next day.
The tax system is going
They're going to
change.
figure it out after the test.
Right. They're going to forget after the test.
After the test.
And so there's been this huge push towards like project-based learning that I really like. So instead of a physics class being sectioned off into like electromagnetism, and which are, I don't want to say arbitrary designations within physics, but they're kind of arbitrary. Even the designations between the sciences are kind of arbitrary. They start to blend really quickly.
Yeah.
Like when you start talking about physics at the subatomic level, when does that become chemistry? And we spend a lot of time into defining things, so they don't break down very easily. But a project-based learning might be the class decides to figure out how a roller coaster works. And so it goes into a bit of dynamics, a bit of tension, material sciences with the roller coaster, and it feels a lot more useful to the kids because they're learning how something works.
But a lot of them don't like projects, and it's because they feel like it's a distraction from the test they have coming up next week.
I hope. That's something I feel like we find more at Tech.
Yeah, but still.
I had a teacher that did project-based learning for his English and computer science classes. And it was different, but I'd say it turned out really well. You do need different classroom energy, though, for sure. Education is so complicated. Somebody once pointed out that it's like the biggest group achievement humans have ever earned is educating every child to 18.
Yeah.
And I realized, it is kind of an absurd amount of work that it takes.
We all agreed this is what we need to do.
Yeah. Like we somehow were just like, let's educate the kids, let's do it. And now a majority of every state's funds goes to educating kids. And a majority of the federal government's non-defense choosable spending is to the states. It's like transfer payments to the states.
Yeah.
And so we should be doing it right. if we spend so much time and effort educating everybody, maybe we shouldn't be doing useless education.
I guess so. Yeah.
But yeah, it gets really, really complicated. I don't mean to make it sound like there's an easy fix.
There isn't.
Clearly, if there was,
we fixed a lot of it, obviously.
And we have.
Over time.
We've done. Yeah, we're no longer teaching about Columbus, solely about Columbus. Like, I think history has made leaps and bounds.
Mm-hmm.
At least the history classes I took focused on these overarching patterns.
Because we learn something new about each thing each day.
Yeah,
right.
And so it was really nice for that versus my parents.
And obviously, calculus changed a lot in was the 1800s, mid to late 1800s. Calculus is one of the newer maths.
It is.
We've had algebra and geometry for since the Greeks, basically.
And I remember in the calculus class I took, there were a lot of problems, and these were where I'd actually probably understand, and this is somewhat on how I learn, but where I understood the calculus the most was when we had to apply it to physics problems.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be like these dynamic rate of change problems where you have a funnel that waters, the traditional volume calculus problem where you have a funnel that water is pouring out of into a bucket. How is the rate in the height of the water level in the cone affecting the rate?
Yeah, and you can model that based on over time.
And so that was really, those were the things where I sort of realized, like, oh wow, this is why I'm learning that. This is what's great, but a lot of students don't get to that point in math.
Mm-hmm. Or they don't care.
But you don't care because you don't, for some reason you and I cared just about the math for the sake of math. Like, the reason we got to calculus is because in elementary school, we were just like, oh, these numbers are kind of fun, or it came easy to us. And it wasn't until we got to the usefulness of math,
mm-hmm.
which comes in these later math classes, in the statistics and the calculus and the geometry, that we were like, oh, shoot, this stuff is fun and usable too.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of kids, when you stop at pre-calc, you're like, why the hell did I learn about sine, cosine, and theta?
And you're also wondering, why do I need to learn about it?
And why do I need
My
to
sister tells me that. She's like, why do I need calculus?
Yeah.
She wants to go into psychology.
Yeah, and so she would be a lot better at taking statistics.
Mm-hmm. Which she is. I think she's taking
Okay, good. And you're going to be finding use of it. And even at Tech, a lot of the public policy kids are like, why do I need to learn statistics? And the statistics professor is like, because this is a data-based science.
If you have any number in any place ever, you need...
Because humans are not predictable, and when there's slight randomness, you need statistics.
It's also about how do you report your findings, not just about how do you analyze it, but how are you going to show whoever you're lobbying, let's say, for example, why schools should be run over the summer.
And there's a rhetorical part of statistics that my statistics professor, Scott Gans, great guy, Professor Gans, legitimately phenomenal professor, he would focus a lot on like the numbers that you find through statistics is not where your job starts. It's actually stops. It's really where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
As a less objective major, and I'm sure there are corollaries in engineering where it's like, cool, the math is all fine and dandy. It's how you apply certain equations.
And explaining why the numbers that you got are important.
Bingo, yeah.
Which is exactly what statistics is, yeah.
And so that's... But if you don't have a good teacher, whoever teaches you that, you're just like, all right, cool, I can find out the mean of a large set. What do I do with it? Yeah. And it really gets me riled up. My mom's a teacher, my sister's a teacher, my dad eventually wants to become a teacher. I see a lot of students, including my little sister, who have been neglected by the school system, really, just because they don't have this very nerdy interest in just learning things for the sake of learning things. Like, we got lucky to just enjoy learning for the sake of learning.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm speaking broadly about you and I is because I assume you got good grades in school.
Well,
Daniel, you got good grades in school. And you did well on the SAT. And you have to at least not actively hate your schoolwork in order to spend that much time with it.
Yeah.
And you might have learned to resent it. But at some point now, like in elementary school, I would read constantly. I would like be that kid that walked in the hallway with his nose in a book.
And you read while you run, too.
I do. Yeah, there's something about me. I'm never able to just do one thing at once. So, after I've gone on that education rant,
Yeah.
it pisses me. It makes me sad. It really does. Because this isn't just like a theoretical policy thing. This is like students that legitimately think the first, the 12 years of their life that they are spending in school is useless. And like, that kind of sucks to live with.
Yeah.
Because then you feel like you're being forced to do useless stuff by parents. You have distrust of the authority figures telling you what to do. Because you're just like, why are these people telling me to do something that's useless? Huh. But it's fine. It's sad. What time are we at?
We can end here. Do you want to end?
Sure.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, this was solely on education.
You got something else you want to talk about?
No, I'm just sad. This will happen when I talk about climate change too.
Oh, go ahead. Climate change.
No, I'm really
We're already doing
sad.
it. We're rolling it in.
No, it's just
I go ahead.
We screwed the pooch on climate change. We should have listened to the scientists in the 70s when it was like a fixable problem.
Oh, we are in so deep. I've talked to people who have talked to people. Let's say.
Yeah.
I won't say any names, but I have contacts that are energy.
Yeah. You're really into that.
And they a lot of the top minds in the country are very pessimistic.
The only way out is forward. I think we have to start controlling the climate. The
problem is, we already have too much carbon in the air.
Yeah, we hit like 440 parts per million in junior year.
Even if we switch everything over right now and we stop putting carbon in the air, we already have too much.
Yeah,
it's already too late.
And the thing is, people talk about it in such these like vague future terms, and I'm sorry to tell y'all, the future is here. Like Georgia's peach crop in 2016, half of it died because of the climate. We had a nice sunny 2 weeks in the middle of winter, and then we had a freeze for the next 3 weeks, and so the peach crop died because the trees don't know what time it is. They just are like, it's warm, I'm gonna bring my flowers out. So I'm gonna focus on the hopeful side of this, which is that people like Daniel Silverstein are gonna be focusing on renewable energies and, more importantly, climate manipulation technologies that can start taking carbon out of the air and reversing the shit. Isn't there something like a big pile of trash in the Pacific Ocean that's like larger than...
Trash is the least of our worries.
I know, that's not even the carbon one.
The carbon is the bigger issue. Trash is a problem too because of methane and other issues. Methane is much worse than CO2, as I'm sure you know. Like cows are an issue.
Cows are an issue.
Like, stop eating beef because...
And you know what? It's not your fault unless you own one of the, because it's like 75% of the emissions has come from the top 100 companies. I'm not sure where that, if that is using oil companies and like every ounce of oil they bring out is counted for a certain amount, then I don't think that's an accurate statement. But like, U.S. Defense Department is one of the biggest emitters.
Yeah.
Tanks are fucking...
Yeah.
So I'm really sad.
All right. Well, we'll
humans, on a happy note, we'll end here.
Yeah, sure. Go.
Humans are adaptable. We're intelligent. We've probably never been through something this crappy, like worldwide as an event. But we're getting to a post-scarcity future. We always deal with problems. We haven't failed yet. We haven't died as a species yet. So let's keep going forward.
All right, that's the podcast. Make sure you, of course, support the podcast, Peter. I'm sure you'll donate.
I might.
It's 99 cents a month. It's like nothing.
Yes. You know what? Daniel guilted me into this.
I guilted you. So that's where we'll end. Be sure to find it on anchor.fm/ The experience with the dash in the middle, the dash experience. We'll have an episode out next week. Hopefully Connor will be back next week, and we'll talk about some goofy stuff again. This is one of the more serious ones. But that's fine. We like to wear different hats. Anyway, that's it. Goodbye.